Hello and welcome to Crazy Canuck Trucking. I'm David, the Crazy Canuck, and
I'm Bridget, the Size Matters Dakotan. Together, we're going to spin some yarns about trucking. These will be real stories, some true, some maybe larger than life, and all will be entertaining.
we'll also try to bust some myths or answer any questions you may have about rolling across the asphalt ribbon in North America.
So please turn up the volume, tighten your seatbelts, ignore those around you, and if you're driving, please don't become one of our stories. We are 10-8. Looking forward to our new code today, which is going to be a 10-12, which means we have visitors present. So that's pretty exciting. We get to hear from other people too. But before we get to that, David, what's our updates and news before we talk about our visitor?
Well, let's see here. I had somebody send me a message and say, I don't like you using the term crazy. It gives a bad connotation. What do you think of that?
Well, I think it depends on the connotation it's used in. I don't think crazy has to be derogatory.
And I feel, I told the guy it's my handle. No disrespect to anybody with mental health issues. I have mental health issues myself, and I got the handle before I realized I had mental health issues, and we went over the reason for my handle, Crazy Canuck, in episode 1. And it's catchy, and I said I use it to open up conversations.
So the gentleman who sent that message, I'm hoping you guys were able to visit and he feels a little bit better about why you use the term crazy for positive, not for anything bad.
Yeah, I think his last message was, well, it's good to communicate. So that's what we wanted, right?
Well, it is. I mean, if we didn't communicate with each other, we wouldn't hear good, bad, or otherwise. And so communication is what teaches us. We can all learn from each other. And especially, we talk a lot about mental health, and the fact that we can learn good and bad from each other is important, I think. What else do you know today, Dave?
Well, I know that, have you ever thought, Bridget, about what it's like? I mean, you do a lot of traveling. What is it like when you hurt yourself or have some kind of sickness when you're on the road?
It's not a lot of fun. I've spent days in a hotel room feeling like crap.
Yeah, and you can't, when you're not feeling good, or you've injured or something, then doctors always say do some rest, do this, do that, and we don't have that opportunity when we're on the highway to really take care of ourselves like we're supposed to. So it's a challenge when we're out here doing that.
That's right.
Yeah. And I got one pet peeve today. Four-way flashers. Yeah, believe it or not, I actually have an opinion.
Wait, four-way flashers on a car or on a over-the-road truck?
Yes, on both.
Okay.
So another term for them is emergency flashers. And on your dashboard usually is a red triangle. That's what shows you what turns on your emergency flashers. Some people seem to think that emergency flashers are for when you're scared about something. So they run into heavy rain, all of a sudden they flip on their emergency flashers. And that bugs the crap out of me as a truck driver.
So why? Because if I'm going to be slowing down and I'm going to be a hazard on the road, would I be better off not using them?
Well, think about the term emergency. So if you're going from speed limit to half speed limit, now you're going to be a hazard on the road. Yeah, for sure. Then put your four-ways on, put your emergencies on. But if there's people that have them on and they're driving just a few miles an hour or a few kilometers an hour below the speed limit, and they seem to think they have to put their four-ways on. It's like, so you assume that there's a problem, and then you find out that they're just scared because it's raining a little harder than they wanted or something like that. If everybody used their four-way flashers as emergencies, then would prevent a lot of issues, because now you come up in a rainstorm behind people and you see a whole bunch of four-way flashers, you automatically think, oh, everybody stopped. And you start slowing down and jam up people behind you. And then you find out, no, it's not actually an emergency right now.
So what you're saying is we all need to be a little bit more diligent in using those flashers when it's appropriate, and don't be a hazard on the road, you guys.
That's exactly what I'm saying. Don't want to become one of our stories, right?
That's right. So speaking of which, as I mentioned earlier, we are 10-12 today, which means we have a visitor present. So I'd hope that all of our listeners would want to buckle up, settle in to listen, be careful if you're driving so that you aren't an accident on the road. And David, who are we going to talk to today?
Well, I'm going to talk to somebody that I've known all of his life, but he hasn't known me all of my life. So I want to introduce you to my son.
That's like one of those riddles I got in the 3rd grade that I had to figure out a word problem. I've known him all of his life, but he hasn't known me all of mine.
Yeah, and apparently I'm still in the 3rd grade sometimes, right? Where my mind goes. So my son Jesse is here. Welcome to the show, Jesse. How are you doing today?
Not too bad. How you guys doing?
Great thing.
So Bridget, this is my son. He's the oldest in the family. And why don't you ask him a few questions?
Well, there's a few things I'd like to know, Jesse. So first of all, why do you think your dad asked you to be on this show today?
There's a very good possibility I was asked to be on the show because I've spent a lot of time side by side with him in the truck. I've worked for him, even though I didn't necessarily want to all the time, but
What, you didn't want to work for me?
No.
You were voluntold you were going to work for Dad.
Yeah.
So tell me about that. What are some of the things that you guys did side by side?
Well, I remember he had a trucking company that hauled chickens for our church fundraising group. And like we would go catch chickens, and my dad was the one that hauled them because we had gotten sick and tired of the one trucking company that we had been using that just couldn't seem to get anything right. So my dad took it upon himself to start a company for doing that. And then also at the same time, he was hauling logs as well. And I spent, it seems like almost every summer when I was out of school as a kid, I spent in the truck going on over the road trips with him.
So what were some of can you think of what was a place or two that was your favorite to go to when you guys were riding together? Whether it was a city or an actual stop, it was something that you were hauling?
Probably some of the favorite would be when we were down, when he was hauling logs, when we were down in the bush. That I'm a country boy through and through, so I like being out in the bush and just being outside a lot more than being in the city necessarily. But I did like it when we were out in Western Canada. That was nicer.
It was a little less populated, a little more fun to see the scenery. And
Yes.
so, okay, some of the fun things that you got to see for a change. Okay, so I have to ask this because as a kid, as a farm kid, when I was riding in a vehicle or a truck, it was always one of our favorite habits to make sure that we got the truckers to blow their horn. So as a kid riding in a semi, did you do that to the other truckers too, to try to see if you'd get them to blow their horn?
I don't remember specifically doing it when I was in the truck riding, but I definitely did it when I was out of the truck. And I still got a little kid in me because I'm 31 and I still do it sometimes.
I do too. If I'm not driving, I do too.
We had a pretty big hammer at that time, and we would blow past other trucks so they wouldn't get a chance to see Jesse waving his arm and pumping his arm.
Right? I love that Western Star. I miss that thing.
Yeah, I seemed to always be in a hurry then. At least when I had you with me, I had to show off for my son.
That's right. Drive as fast as you could, get there quickly.
Oh
So,
yeah.
so I
Well, you
understand that. Go ahead.
You had to do something to impress the kid, because at the other end, he was going to be doing all the dirty work, right? So you have to kind of butter him up before you get him to do all the hard stuff.
What
so
kind of dirty work?
hauling pigs.
That's
Hauling
dirty
cattle,
work.
hauling chickens,
Oh, yeah.
Scrape-
Okay, so that's dirty work. Mhm.
scrape the floor, all that
Yeah.
good stuff.
See, as someone on the receiving end or the shipping end of that, I never thought about who had to clean the trailer. I just knew it wasn't me because I had a dairy barn to go clean out.
It's not so fun to clean a hog trailer out.
Not at all. I bet not at all.
No.
So, Jesse, I
See,
have a note here, something about military during the 97 flood. What do you remember about that?
Oh, that was pretty interesting. How old was I there, Dad? 9, 10, maybe?
97, you would have been 9.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah. So, Dad was hauling sandbags and sand for the military during the flood of 97.
No, in the States or in Canada? Because we were flooding down here in North Dakota.
Yeah, up near Winnipeg.
Yes.
I guess it
I
would have
got-
been Saint Agath area, right, Dad?
Yeah, we were all over the place at first, but then we got commandeered by the troop that was trying to save the town of St. Adolphe.
Oh,
And,
yeah. Yeah.
I was backing up a trailer, and I can't remember if it was a sergeant, whoever, lieutenant, he said, "You now work for me." So I was commandeered by the military to haul their sandbags for that town. They had just lost 2 trucks earlier in the day or two previous, and they figured a civilian's truck was okay to lose. So then I took Jesse along with me on some of those days.
Yeah.
Well, for people who might be listening and not realize what happened in 1997, and I'll put it in a little perspective. I had just graduated from college, so I'm a little older than Jesse. And I had just started my job. I was living in Fargo, North Dakota, and folks should understand that the Red River of North Dakota flows north. We don't flow south, it flows north to Winnipeg. So all of the water that was coming that direction where you guys were sandbagging was coming from us. We'd had record snowfall. If I remember off the top of my head, we were 110, 120 inches of snow that winter. And understand that where we live around Fargo, it is as flat as a pool table. And there's the water just sits. It doesn't have a real fast place to go. So what would normally be a pretty small meandering river became 10 miles wide as there were ice dams and snowbanks. We had an ice storm in the midst of all of this that coated electrical lines and tore down power stations or substations. So it was a big, big mess. And there was a wall of water that was slowly moving at you guys in Canada. So Jesse, for you, as the kid riding in the truck, watching all of that, was it kind of nerve-wracking?
Yeah, it was a little bit. I know Dad told me that I handled it a lot better than his boss did. I never tried to jump out of the truck. But
Yeah.
I did also spend a fair amount of time those days helping load the sandbags, and they had taken me under their wing. It was at the the Niverville Arena, where they had kind of taken over the arena and used that as their base. And they took me under their wing, and I just remember they gave me all kinds of stuff, whether it was like just the little military grape drinks, and I ended up getting Canadian military patches and stuff from them, and just
Glow
all kinds of
sticks.
cool. Pardon me?
Yeah, glow sticks as well. And
Oh yeah, yeah. Had the military grade glow sticks and all that stuff. It was really cool to experience as a young kid.
as a
And they,
father, it was really cool to see how the troops did that. That really warmed my heart because, you know, here you are and everybody's trying to save towns, but they still take the time to take a young kid under their arms and show them around and show them what things are like. That was, as a father, that was really, really cool to see that.
so were they doing it more as a way to keep you entertained or keep you focused so that you would continue to help? Or was it more of a thank you for the things that you were doing, Jesse?
I'm not really sure, but that's one thing that people have never had to do is try and entertain me to keep me busy helping. I have too strong of a work ethic to just sit around and be lazy.
You always wanted to be in the thick of things trying to help them out.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
Especially if it wasn't his dad telling him what to do. If it was a military guy, it'd be like, no problem.
well, good Lord, David, nobody listens to their parents. I thought we established that long ago.
Oh, yeah, I'm a little hard-headed, I guess.
So that brings up another topic, and you know, one that we've talked about, both just David and I one-on-one, but also, you know, through our last guest with Ken, and that's talking about, you know, mental health and what comes along with it. And our previous guest, Ken, was also military as well as an over-the-road driver, and he talked about what that stress was like on him. But Jesse, as the son, watching what happened with your dad and what he was going through, what did you see or what did you think about when you saw your dad struggling with some of the things that were happening to him?
That's a tough question. We had a really good relationship when I was a young kid, and then when I got into my teenage years, our relationship was almost non-existent for quite a number of years. And it wasn't purely because of my dad. I also suffer from some mental health issues, and that just basically added fuel to the fire. And it was actually 3-4 years ago that me and my dad have been actively working at getting our good relationship back that we had when I was younger. And I'm proud to say that now it's good.
You actually can talk to each other and it makes more sense, not nearly as much fuel on the fire like you had before.
Yeah, yeah.
How did you realize something was going on with you?
Well, for years, my mom had told me that I have these mental health issues and stuff, and I refused to believe it. There's nothing wrong with me. Leave me alone. No, I'm not taking my meds that you say I have to take. And I suffer from severe bipolar.
Mm-hmm.
And so some of the things I had gotten myself into, it kind of helped in one way because it helped build me a reputation for being a little bit crazy and off the wall. And so then you fast forward a number of years, and I ended up a year and a half ago, I got out of prison, and I spent 3 years in prison. And shortly after I was in prison, said, you know what? Living like that and everything is where this has got me. And my mom's been telling me about my mental health issues and stuff my whole life almost. So I decided that it would probably be a smart idea to talk to a psychiatrist when I was in prison and take the steps that I needed to take to live like a normal person.
Do you feel like you're living a lot better now?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Good.
So
I'm really proud of him. I'm really proud of him, and when I look back on those teen years, I see a lot of mistakes that I made, not understanding what I was dealing with, and trying to make a living and dealing with injuries and stuff. And I'm really glad that we've had the opportunity to put things back together.
So you both changed. You both kind of grew up. You both realized the things that you needed to deal with, not only for yourselves, but also for each other. So that's a pretty good spot to be in these days, to say that we actually managed to get ourselves back on track. Not everybody else can do that. So Jesse is a young guy. You said you're 31. If you see someone struggling with their own and grappling with their own mental health, any suggestions you would give them?
just take it one day at a time. Even sometimes one day at a time is too much to look at. Sometimes you just got to look at it 1 minute at a time.
But
and just focus. If you're really struggling on something, focus short term. You can focus on the long term later on when you get yourself through that real hard point of the short term. You need to look at the long term as well, but maybe today I just need to focus on how to make it through today. And then tomorrow I can worry about how I'm going to make it through the next week or the next month or the next year.
just keep moving forward, right?
Yep.
I think that's pretty positive, because I came to be positive. So I'm going to call that one as being pretty positive. So those are kind of my list of questions. What are the other things that you guys want to make sure folks know as a father and son team, having grown up in trucking, and also the other things that you have managed to accomplish with your own mental health?
Well, if there's any dads out there that got kids that are even mildly interested in wanting to go on trips with them, do everything you can to take your kid on a trip. Because I can say, as a young kid, that was some of the most fun I had as a young kid. And just
I tell you, Bridget, I never needed to listen to podcasts back in those days. I mean, they didn't have podcasts, but I did not need a podcast because he would not be quiet. What's this? What's that? Dad, I was looking at this, and this is what I think, and it was nonstop, unless he was sleeping. So, yeah.
Okay, Jesse, I'm on your side on this, because my dad used to tell me when I was a little kid and I would go to the field with him, whether he was spraying for a neighbor or just in his own tractor, he never really got the chance to listen to the radio, because he said all I did was talk and hum and sing and talk.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Jesse was either sleeping or talking.
Well, apparently, when the border agent asks you if your mom knows where you are, and you tell him no, that's not a good thing to say.
Yeah, that leads to a few more than interesting problems when you're at a border and that happens.
Who had to call Mom to verify that she knew where you were?
Well, not only that, it was like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. So back then it was hard to get a hold of people. And yeah, that was interesting. 5 o'clock in the morning. I mean, that looks a little suspicious, right?
And Jesse
Taking the
just
son
had,
running for the border.
Jesse was just being honest.
Well, yeah, yeah.
Mom knew I was with Dad. Mom just didn't know where we were.
Sure. This has
Yep.
been a
Yeah,
tremendous amount of fun, you guys. I have really enjoyed talking to you, hearing what you have to say and the things that you've done. So again, we got to use that 10 code 1012 because we had a visitor present today.
Yeah, it was so good you could join us today, Jesse. And thank you for agreeing to come on and help us out here and point out my failings as a dad. You know, that's always really good to hear. No.
I don't think that was the intent.
Oh, is that okay? Okay. Jesse and I have always had, you know, despite what the honesty with some of the stuff we talk about here, we have actually throughout all the years been able to tease each other and have fun. And the good thing for me is now he's getting a little bit older and he feels a few aches and pains now. So I keep reminding him that he can laugh at me for getting old, but he's pretty close now. So
Every day, Jesse, just a little advice. Every day is a Where's Waldo of what hurts today. So good luck. Play that game.
Right?
I really appreciate the chance to visit today. And I also want to say thanks to Jesse James Dupree. This has been a lot of fun listening to him and getting to know his music because we get to have the permission from him to use this on the podcast.
Jesse, any final thoughts?
Keep the rubber side down and under 100 mile an hour.
Welcome to our chaos.
Alrighty. Sounds good.
Thank you for making it this far. Please contact us for any stories you may want to share. You can be anonymous if needed. Please share, give us 5-star ratings, and stay tuned for more.
Thank you very much for listening. Thank you to our producer, Big T, my co-host, Size Matters Dakotan. I'm the Crazy Canuck, and we are 10-7.